The world had changed when the gates appeared, monstrous portals that spewed forth creatures from another dimension, threatening to overrun humanity. Among the countless hunters who risked their lives to combat these horrors, one stood apart, Sung Jinwoo, once the weakest E-rank hunter, now something far greater after surviving the system's brutal trials. His latest mission led him to a gate unlike any other, its entrance pulsing with an eerie, dreamlike glow. Whispers spoke of a dungeon that didn't just exist, it dreamed, its very walls shifting with the thoughts of an ancient, slumbering consciousness. Jinwoo stepped inside, his shadow soldiers materializing behind him, their forms flickering like living darkness. The air was thick with an unnatural mist, distorting sound and sight, making every footfall echo as though the dungeon itself was listening. His instinct screamed danger before the first attack came. A creature emerged from the mist, its body a grotesque fusion of flesh and shadow, its elongated limbs ending in serrated claws. Jinwoo didn't hesitate. With a thought, his shadows surged forward, blades flashing as they carved into the beast. But the monster laughed, its wounds knitting together instantly, its form twisting into something new, a hulking, armored behemoth with eyes like dying stars. Jinwoo's eyes narrowed. This wasn't just regeneration, the dungeon was reshaping its minions in real time, adapting to his attacks. He lunged, his dagger, Kasaka's venom fang, gleaming as he channeled mana into it. The blade struck the beast's chest, but instead of piercing, the flesh rippled like water, absorbing the blow. The creature retaliated, a massive fist crashing toward him. Jinwoo activated Quicksilver, his body blurring as he sidestepped, countering with a spinning kick infused with shadow energy. The impact sent the monster staggering, but it only grinned, its form melting into a swarm of smaller, faster creatures that skittered toward him like living shrapnel. Jinwoo clenched his fist. Igris. His shadow general materialized in a burst of crimson energy, his greatsword cleaving through the swarm in a single sweep. The remaining creatures hissed, merging once more, this time into a towering, winged abomination, its maw dripping with liquid shadow. Jinwoo exhaled sharply. This dungeon wasn't just alive, it was learning, evolving its strategies faster than he could counter them. But he had one advantage, the system had honed him into a predator, and predators didn't hesitate. With a burst of speed, he closed the distance, his dagger flashing as he aimed for the beast's throat. The creature twisted, but Jinwoo feinted, switching mid-strike to drive his knee into its ribs. Bone cracked, but the dungeon's influence surged, the wound sealing instantly. The abomination's tail lashed out, catching Jinwoo across the chest and sending him skidding back. Blood welled from the gash, but his regeneration flared, stitching flesh back together. He smirked. Two can play at that game. Raising a hand, he summoned Baruka's dagger, the second blade humming with lethal energy. Twin strikes rained down, each cut deliberate, testing the dungeon's limits. The creature roared, its body shifting wildly, scales, then fur, then chitin, as it struggled to adapt. Jinwoo pressed the assault, his shadows harrying it from all sides. Just as the beast seemed to stabilize, he activated Dominator's touch, his hand plunging into its chest. The creature shrieked as his power invaded its core, its form writhing uncontrollably before collapsing into a pool of black sludge. Silence fell, but Jinwoo didn't relax. The dungeon was watching. The mist thickened, and the walls breathed, pulsing like a living thing. A voice, neither human nor monster, echoed in his mind. You are strong. Stronger than the others. But can you survive the dreams of the devoured? The ground trembled, and the very air twisted as the dungeon's true challenge began. Jinwoo's grip tightened on his daggers. Whatever nightmare awaited, he would carve his way through, because failure wasn't an option. Not when the shadows themselves answered his call. Jinwoo versus a dungeon that dreams. Solo Leveling, Part 2. The dungeon pulsed like a living thing, its walls shifting with eerie whispers as Jinwoo stepped deeper into its heart. The air thickened with mana, pressing against his skin like an invisible hand. This was no ordinary raid, this dungeon dreamed, twisting reality to its will. Ahead, shadows coiled into monstrous forms, their eyes glowing with malicious intelligence. Jinwoo smirked. He'd faced nightmares before. This would be no different. The first creature lunged, a blur of fangs and claws. Jinwoo barely twitched, his instincts sharper than ever. He sidestepped, letting the beast's momentum carry it past him, then drove his dagger into its spine. Black blood sprayed, but the dungeon reacted instantly, the ground beneath him softened, swallowing his feet like quicksand. Adaptation. He wrenched free with a burst of strength, flipping backward as another monster crashed into the spot he'd just occupied. His soldiers materialized in a flash of shadows, Igris, Beru, and the others, forming a protective ring. But the dungeon wasn't done. The walls melted, reshaping into towering golems of stone and teeth. One swung a massive fist, and Jinwoo barely raised his arms in time. The impact sent him skidding back, his boots carving trenches in the uneven floor. Pain flared, but he grinned. Good. He activated Dominator's touch, and the shadows around him writhed, latching onto the golems. They screeched as darkness corroded their bodies, but the dungeon countered, their wounds healed, stone knitting back together faster than Jinwoo could destroy it. Persistent. He needed a new approach. Jinwoo's eyes gleamed as he triggered Ruler's authority, the air distorting under the sheer pressure of his will. The golems froze mid-swing, their bodies straining against his grip. With a snarl, he yanked his hand downward, and the monsters crashed into the ground, shattering like glass. But the dungeon roared in response, the ceiling splitting open to rain down jagged stalactites. Beru shot forward, his wings a blur, intercepting the deadly hail with strikes so fast they left afterimages. Igris charged ahead, his sword cleaving through a fresh wave of shadow beasts. Jinwoo didn't stop moving, he couldn't. The dungeon was learning, evolving its tactics to match his. Every time he gained ground, it shifted beneath him. A new enemy emerged, a writhing mass of eyes and tendrils, its very presence warping space. Jinwoo's soldiers faltered, their movements slowing as if caught in syrup. Mental interference. He gritted his teeth, feeling the pressure against his mind, but his will was iron. Enough, he growled, and with a surge of mana, he shattered the psychic hold. His shadows rallied, and he led the charge, daggers flashing. The beast lashed out, tendrils whipping like serpents. Jinwoo weaved through them, his movements a dance of precision and brutality. One tendril grazed his arm, and agony burned through him, venom. His vision blurred, but he forced his body forward. Arise, he commanded, and the fallen monsters around him twitched, then rose as his undead thralls. They hurled themselves at the creature, buying him seconds. With a roar, Jinwoo activated Demon King's transformation, his body surging with power. His veins burned, his muscles expanding as dark energy wreathed him like a second skin. He moved, crossing the distance in an instant, and plunged his dagger into the creature's core. It shrieked, thrashing wildly, but Jinwoo twisted the blade, pouring every ounce of his mana into the strike. The creature detonated, a shockwave of force hurling him back. He hit the ground hard, rolling to his feet just as the dungeon screamed, the very walls convulsing. The floor split open, and from the abyss rose the dungeon's heart, a pulsating orb of corrupted mana, its surface writhing with half-formed faces. Jinwoo's breath came sharp. This was it. The final barrier. The orb unleashed a beam of pure energy, and Jinwoo barely dodged, the heat searing his side. His soldiers charged, but the orb absorbed them, dissolving their forms into nothing. Jinwoo's chest tightened. No more distractions. Just him and the core. He sprinted forward, the ground cracking beneath him. The orb fired again, and this time, Jinwoo met it head-on, his dagger blazing with shadow. The collision sent shockwaves rippling through the dungeon, the force threatening to tear it apart. His arms trembled, his muscles screaming, but he pushed, inching closer. I don't lose, he snarled, and with a final, explosive surge, he slammed his dagger into the orb. Light erupted, blinding and absolute. The dungeon screamed one last time, then shattered. Silence. Jinwoo stood amidst the ruins, his body aching, his breath ragged. But he was alive. And the dungeon? Dead. He exhaled, glancing at the dissipating shadows of his fallen soldiers. They'd return. They always did. Because Sung Jinwoo didn't just survive. He conquered. Jinwoo versus a dungeon that dreams. Solo leveling, Part 3. The air inside the dungeon crackled with raw energy, the very walls trembling as Jinwoo Sung faced the dungeon's heart, a monstrous, sentient core that pulsed with the dreams of countless fallen hunters. Its tendrils lashed out, each strike warping reality, bending space to its will. Jinwoo's muscles screamed in protest, his body pushed beyond human limits, but his eyes burned with unyielding resolve. This was it, the final battle. The heart's voice echoed, a chorus of whispers and screams. You cannot win. I am the culmination of every fear, every desire, every fallen soul. Jinwoo gritted his teeth, blood dripping from his split lip. Yeah? Then I'll just have to break you. Shadows surged around him, his army of fallen warriors materializing in an instant, their spectral forms charging without hesitation. The clash was cataclysmic, steel met flesh, magic collided with raw power, and the dungeon itself seemed to scream in protest. Jinwoo moved like a tempest, his dagger, Kasaka's venom fang, flashing as he carved through the heart's defenses. But for every wound he inflicted, the dungeon retaliated, its tendrils regenerating, its attacks growing more erratic, more desperate. A crushing blow sent Jinwoo skidding across the shattered floor, ribs cracking. His vision blurred, but he forced himself up. Not yet. Not here. The heart loomed, its form shifting into a grotesque reflection of Jinwoo himself, a shadow doppelganger, mocking him. You see? Even your strength is mine. Jinwoo's fists clenched. His shadows faltered, their energy draining as the dungeon siphoned his power. This thing. It adapts. Panic flickered, but only for a second. Then, he remembered Beru's voice, Igris' loyalty, the countless battles that had forged him. He wasn't just fighting for himself. With a roar, Jinwoo pushed his mana flaring in a blinding explosion. The shadows answered, not as extensions of his will, but as allies. Igris materialized at his side, sword raised. Beru screeched, his wings a blur as he tore into the heart's defenses. And then, Jinwoo changed. His body surged with power, his evolution reaching its apex. The system's final gift. The heart recoiled as Jinwoo's dagger plunged into its core. Reality shattered. The dungeon's illusions collapsed, its dreams unraveling like torn fabric. You cannot destroy me. The heart wailed. Jinwoo's voice was ice. Watch me. With one final, devastating strike, he ripped the core apart. The explosion was deafening. Light swallowed everything. Silence. Then, air. Real air. Jinwoo collapsed to his knees, the dungeon crumbling around him. The sky above was clear, the nightmare over. His body ached, his mind reeled, but he was alive. His shadows, though weakened, stood vigilant. They had won. But the cost was clear. The dungeon's collapse sent ripples through the world, the gates ceased spawning, the balance of power shifted. Hunters stared in awe as the once inescapable dungeons faded. Jinwoo had done more than survive. He had changed everything. As he limped from the ruins, the weight of his actions settled. The world would never be the same. And neither would he.